Welcome, everybody. It's quite bright. Yeah. The first contact. What is that? Whoever of you thought I would be talking about Star Trek, I'm sorry. Now is the time to leave. I'm going to talk about stuff like this one. Who of you has ever seen a form like this? Okay. Probably not this one, because it's in German, and don't mind the language the form is written in, because that's not the issue. Why the first contact when you have a registration form? What is that? Well, your registration form actually is the first real contact with your company that the user gets. So the real first impression a user gets. And before that, everything is just advertisement. So you can say, yes, we are the best company. With the registration form, you actually show the user and tell the user what you are up to and what they are up to. Okay, I'm Andreas. I'm a software developer at a German software company. I co-organized the PHP user group in Frankfurt. I created some open source toolage. I maintain some libraries. I do open source stuff. But I'm not a UI or a UX person, other than from personal experience, from using stuff myself. And I'm not a lawyer, so everything that I'm going to show you that might be legally relevant, you definitely should ask a lawyer about that, because I'm just a user. And I'm alumni of the High School of Street Knowledge and the University of Common Sense. I hope you all are. So this mainly is a kind of a rant. So I give you some examples. Who of you has not seen this page? Okay, thank you very much. Is this a good registration page or a bad registration page? So who of you thinks this is a good registration page? Okay. Number of hands. Who of you thinks this is a good registration page? Oh, a lot less hands. Okay, coming in. And who of you thinks this is a good registration page? Oh, interesting. And what about this one? Okay, thank you. I'm going to start to tell you why this probably is not the best registration page you have ever seen. And I'm going to start with names. Who of you has ever thought about names being something complicated? Ah, okay, some. Okay. So usually when we are told to create a form field for some people to register, we do something like this. A given name and a family name. Fine, isn't it? So for me, that is perfect. Andreas is my given name, Heigl is my family name. Fits in, perfect, great. What about this person? Professor Dr. H.C. Meinrad Wolfgang Fürst zu Erbach-Fürstenau. Don't laugh, that is an actual name. So, okay, the Professor Dr. H.C. is a title, but that is a title that actually belongs to the name. Where do I fit that? No way, okay. Meinrad and Wolfgang are the two first names of that person, the two given names of that person. Okay, which one do I enter here? One? Both? Well, okay, it fits for both. Okay, Fürst zu Erbach-Fürstenau. Fürst zu actually is a title again, and Erbach-Fürstenau would be the name. But, okay, Erbach actually is a name of a village. So the actual family name would be Fürstenau. So with using this form, we require the user to butcher his name, to enter only parts of it, which is not really nice. But okay, it can fit. What about this name? Who of you knows this guy? Johann Gambelputty, der von Ausfern, Splendid, Schlitter, Krassenborn, whatever. That is not a real name. Okay, that is a name from a sketch from Monty Python. And in that sketch, they say the whole name 20 times or something like that. It is really amazing, without laughing. But this is a real name. This is the longest ever recorded name of a person in human history. Yes. Just to make you aware of what that means, this name has 988 characters. Who of you stores names in a database in a varchar 255? Realize something? Okay, it is an edge case, I admit that, but still. Okay, so if first name and last name, or if given name and family name perhaps doesn't work. Oh no, given name and family name we had. What about this one? Björk Guðmundsdóttir. Who knows that person? One person? Two persons? This is the name of the Icelandic singer Björk. And Björk's father was called Guðmund. And Guðmundsdóttir in this case is not a surname, it's not a family name, it is a father's name, which is something completely different. Because the children of Björk, for example, might have the last name Björksdóttir or Björksson. And that's not only in Iceland, that's very common in Arabic states. Isa bin Osman. Isa, the son of Osman. So which one is the family name and which one is the given name? Well, okay, the given name is easy. Okay, so family name and given name perhaps doesn't work. Okay, let's skip that. Let's use a first name and a last name. That's easy, isn't it? You'd imagine. Okay, what about this one? Abu Karim Muhammad al-Jamil ibn Nibdal ibn Abdulazia al-Filistini. Okay, who knows what that means? Thank you. This is Abu, the father of Muhammad, the beautiful, the son of the Palestinian, the son of Al-Jamil, the son of Abdulaziz, the Palestinian. Okay, which one is the first name? Abu, yes. And which one is the last name? Is that Al-Filistini or just Filistini? But Filistini means the Palestinian. What about this one? Madurai Mani Iya. This is a very common name in India, for example. I have to look that up, yes. Madurai actually is a village. Mani is the given name of the person, and Iya is the name of the caste, of the Hindu caste this person belongs to. Yes. It looks like that doesn't work. And what about this person? Who knows that? This is Mao Zedong. This is the written name of Mao Zedong. In this case, Mao is the family name, and Dong is the first or the given name of the person. And Ze is the name that of the generation name. All persons of the same generation, so all the brothers and sisters of Mao Zedong, are called Mao Tse, and then something else. And please realize there are no spaces between those characters. So this is just 3 characters right after one another. And again, which one is the first name and which one is the last name? So it looks like that doesn't work. Names are far more complicated than I thought, at least. So realize there might be no family name. And there might probably also be no middle initial. But we're not in the States here, so that's not a problem. And the main question you have to ask yourself, or I have to ask myself, is it necessary to know how the name is split up? Why do I need to know that in the first case? So perhaps instead, just use one field. Give me your name. And then everyone can decide for themselves what they want to enter here. And also be prepared in this case for long input or for just one character. Chinese people, for example, or Korean or Japanese. And also be prepared for non-ASCII input. That might happen. But I mean, I'm talking to Serbian people here, so you should know that. And if you need something Unicode-y, something ASCII kind of thing, use a transcription field. So the person can enter a transcription for the name if you need to know that. And please also clearly label your fields if you need multiple fields. And also one thing you often have in forms, especially when it's about governmental stuff, like, give me your maiden name. Well, okay, in my case, my wife took my name when we married, but there are a lot of couples where that is not the case, where perhaps the man took the name of his wife as a last name. So he definitely does not have a maiden name. So use previous name instead. You might think, that's a rant for myself with things that I found. Well, I'm not the only person thinking about that. And this page from the Worldwide Consortium has a lot more on names to say. So if you want to have a look, feel free to do so. I was talking about marriage, male, female, which brings me to the next one, which is gender. Yes, gender has male and female, and a lot more. Because gender is not binary. Definitely not. Not even anymore, it never was. If you have a form field for a gender, ask yourself, do I need that? Because most of the time, you probably will not. What do you need that for? What? For t-shirts. Well, why am I not entitled to wear a women's shirt? Well, okay, it might not fit, but that's a different story. But still, why? Non-binary t-shirt, yes. Usually it's to address someone. To say, hello, Mr. Whatnot. Hello, Mrs. Whatnot. Well, remember, we don't have the split up between first and last name, so we don't use that. So we can't use that. So instead, just give me a field, how would you like to be addressed? So when I get your email newsletter, you don't need to address me as, hello, Mr. Heigl. I might find that a bit awkward. So ask me, how do you want to be addressed? And guess what? If I enter Superman here, I'd be absolutely delighted every time I get your email newsletter, hello, Superman. Yes! Also, have a look at this page from the Worldwide Consortium on that. The email newsletter. Email. One of the reasons I personally think this is a not so good registration page is they think I'm stupid. Do you realize why? I do have to type in my email address twice because I'm so stupid that I might make a mistake with what I write in there. Well, okay, I will definitely not make the mistake in the second field because I see what I write. That's a different story with password fields, but in this case, there is no need to enter the email address twice. There definitely is no need. Because when you're shipping stuff, do you ask for the physical address of the person twice? Sometimes that would be appropriate. My wife just recently ordered something and it didn't get through to us because she entered the wrong address. So why with the email address? Because whenever you ask for an email address, you will send an opt-in email anyway. So you will send an email, the person will opt in, and then you have confirmed that the email address is correct. And in that case, people will notice, for sure. And perhaps you can also allow people to change the email address during the registration process. What? Allow people to change the email address during the registration process? That sounds pretty complicated. Well, it might be, but it actually works. I had to register for our user group website for OpenCage data, and I got this confirmation screen after I entered the email address. And it was, didn't you not receive the email? Resend, or, hey, awesome, change the email address. Yes, they also think I can be stupid. But they don't tell me in the beginning that I'm stupid by requesting me to enter my email address twice. They realize, yes, I might have mistyped the email address. But here in this screen, I see the email address I typed in, and then I can, oh, damn, wrong email address. And then I can click the button, yes, please change my email address, and everything works. And whatever you do, please always send a copy to the user. That has nothing to do with requesting the email address. That is more like a contact form. You have crafted your beautiful email message to the support team, and you send it, and it's gone. And 2 weeks later, someone writes back, yes, we got your email, we fixed the problem. Which problem was that? If you send a copy of the email you sent to the support people, also to my address, that's fine. Then I know what's going on. On Stack Exchange, there is also some stuff written about that. That's more or less where I got all this information from. Okay, so we have name, gender, email address. What else is usually requested in forms? One of my favorites, date. No, I'm not going to talk about time zones here. Dates are very clearly specified in an RFC. If you request a date time information, do it from the least relevant to the most relevant, so year, month, day, hour, minute, second, millisecond. Because then everyone knows what's going on. Why am I telling you this? Because there are 3 countries on Earth that do not do this. 2 of them are negligible. And please, if you request a date, make sure to tell me how you want me to insert the date. Nothing is worse than you requesting me to enter year, day, month, and I enter it the other way around. Or even easier, use the input type date. It's there, and by now, I think almost all browsers support that. Or use an appropriate date shim. And if you get the date, please validate fault tolerant. What is fault tolerant in terms of date? If you request me to enter the date as YYYY, MMDD, please, 2017 5/7 is a valid date. It doesn't make sense to tell me that I entered the wrong date because I omitted the 0 in front of the 5 and the 7. But the main question is, in a registration form, what do I need the date for anyhow? Do you want my birth date? What do you want that for? Because, hey, GDPR. Yes, we are not in Europe, but you might still make business with people in Europe. So the question is, what do you need my birthday for?
People love spam on the day of birthday.
Thank you. That's one possibility. The other one is age verification. Discounts on your birthday, yes. But I didn't opt into that, did I? So the main question is age verification, usually. age verification with a birthday. Who of you has never faked their birthday? Thank you very much. So, why not use something like this? Yes, I am legally entitled to buy beer. That's much easier for you as a programmer than verifying or recalculating from the birthday whether the person is 16 or 18 or 21 or 25, depending on the country of residence. I'm not sure whether that is actually a possibility. Ask your lawyer on that. But on the other hand, in almost all registration forms, somewhere there is a checkbox, yes, I've read the terms and conditions. So perhaps that's a possibility. What?
What about countries where it's illegal to drink?
Well, we are only talking about buying. We are not talking about drinking. Okay, so there are some references. Have a look at them. Which brings me to the next one. Which ones are the required fields, actually? A required field is a field that I need to provide the requested service. So ask yourself, is the birth date actually a required field? Do I need that to provide the service? If you have required fields, please clearly mark them. Yes, clearly mark them. References are very easy, GDPR and legal regulations of the relevant countries. Along with these go error messages. Because error messages usually occur when you missed filling in a required field. So an error message, a good error message tells me what went wrong, and especially what I can do against it so that it works the next time. And sorry folks, the organizers are really awesome, but in this case, there is room for improvement. This is the conference, the call for paper website for this conference, where I actually entered this talk. And yes, who of you can read the error message? Okay, thank you very much. It was the same for me when I read that. I was a bit irritated when I submitted that I still had the page. Oh, wait a minute, there is something written on top of that. Okay, your short description is missing. Ah, okay. So what is the problem here? The problem here is, for one thing, yes, I'm told what is the problem and what I can do against it. I can fill a short description. Wouldn't it be easier if the error message would actually be at the field of the short description? Now I have to check which field was that? I mean, in this case, the form is rather good to read. So I entered the short description then, submitted, and what the hell? Oh, wait a minute, no, it's a different error message. Please fill in tags. Oh, I have to fill in tags as well. So I entered tags and submitted again, and I'm standing here, so it seems to have worked. So please, present me all errors at once. Not one after one after one. It might be easier to process, but for me as a user, it's not easier to process. And please present the error messages where they can be fixed. It makes it easier for me to interact with you. And please present end-user compatible error messages. The email address did not match the regex whatnot tralala. Might be technically correct, but even I might not be able to read it. And please also present actionable error messages, because the email address does not match regex whatnot is correct, but it doesn't tell me what I can do against it. I was looking for some references for that, and I found a blog post from 2008 that describes exactly those things I've just told you. Yes. The next thing you usually need for a registration form when you want to use a service is a password. Well, what can I say? Try to avoid passwords. Not as a user when you want to register for a service, but as a programmer when you want to want others to use your service. The best thing, in my opinion, is to use external resources for that, like OAuth or SAML or LDAP or Kerberos. And if you use OAuth or SAML, please provide with different providers, because it's nice to log in with Facebook, but not all people have Facebook. It's nice to log in with Twitter, but not all people have Twitter, and not even in technical things. If that's not possible for your system, that might be, please do not roll your own crypto, please. There are people that know what they are doing and that spend their lifetime on knowing what they are doing. I wouldn't say I know it. And please, when you store passwords, when you have to store passwords, always hash them and always store them hashed. There is no need for clear text passwords anywhere. In PHP, there is a password hashing API. Who of you has not used the password hashing API? Okay, what am I doing here? You all know what I'm talking about. But the other thing is also avoid leaking passwords in clear text. Well, okay, when you use hashed passwords, where are they in clear text? Well, every time a user logs in, they enter their password into a password field. And this information is sent to the server in clear text. Yes, inside of an encrypted channel, but still in clear text. So it enters your scripts in clear text. And if you have a crash in between, it might still happen to come up in clear text within log files. And that's not just for small sites, even large sites like Twitter and Facebook have that problem, as we just recently got to know. So try to find a way of encapsulating passwords so that they cannot be leaked in clear text into log files or whatever, or stack traces. Okay, something else. Don't force password requirements apart from the minimum length. You might ask, what? That might get insecure. Yes, I'm going to show you some things that might help you understand that. When you register, show information about the password quality. You know these red to green bars. That's not really a valid information, but it helps a user to get to know, is this a good password, is this a bad password? And also use, have I been pawned? Who of you knows have I been pawned? Okay, some for the others. It's a website where you can actually enter your password and see whether that password was leaked in any of the big breaches. And so when you can use that service from your own system. You can send the password in an encrypted way, in a way that no one else gets to know that password. And you get back some hashes of passwords that were similar, and then you can locally validate whether that password has been leaked already, so whether that password is in the password list or not. And you can tell the user, yeah, that might be a good password, but it's leaked already, so you probably should use a different one. And also encourage users to use passphrases. And please allow the use of a password manager. Who of you is not using a password manager? Good. I can only encourage you. And please, please, please never limit the password length. There is no need to limit the password length. Apart from, as some people say, for example, 64K, which is quite long. You can write almost a whole essay in that. Why does it not make sense to limit the password length? Well, as soon as someone tells me the password length is limited, I'm like, wait a minute, are you storing that password in clear text? And you only got a varchar 16 for it? Because when I hash the password length is always the same. No matter whether that is a 2-letter password or a 64,000-letter password. Doesn't matter. It's always the same length because it's hashed. Yes, I'm not able to send to send the user their password, so when they forgot their password that they know it again. But hey, sorry, who is sending clear text passwords over an unencrypted channel like email? Hopefully no one. And also, ditch the required password reset every whatnot time intervals, every 2 months. Why? Because it leads to the password not being memorized, but being written on a sticky and put onto the monitor. And that's not really secure. So what makes a good password? Well, XKCD has an answer to it, of course. The Troubadour and 3 looks like a good password at the first sight, but it is pretty hard to remember, and actually, as it's very short, it's pretty easy to calculate. The other one, correct horse battery staple, it's pretty long. No special signs, no uppercase letters, no numbers. But due to the length, due to the sheer length of the password, it is pretty hard to calculate. But one or the other of you might already have memorized it. So it's pretty easy to remember. You should not use this as a valid password. That's why I say, allow people to use passphrases. It makes much more sense and it's much easier to remember. And also I have some resources. Who of you knows the National Institute of Standards and Technology? That's an institute that advises I don't know whether it was the NSA or the British version. The National Cybersecurity Center is the other one as well. So both of them advise rather high-ranking governmental officers. Have I been pawned? As I said, there are some packages to use that. And there is a Twitter thread on a field study. There was a password storage field study where people from a university told some developers to create a login form, and half of those people didn't store the password in a hashed way. They stored the password in clear text because they weren't told to do so. So please, if you are told to create a login process, if you're told to store a password, store it encrypted, even though you are not told to do so. And have a look at the OWASP. Copy and paste. Why copy and paste? Well, as I was saying before, I want to use a password manager. And some clever guys or gals actually thought, well, people should actually enter their password. Because when they enter their password, it is never in the clipboard. So if the computer is infected, people will never be able to retrieve the password from the clipboard. Sorry, folks. When your computer has been infected with whatnot, I think you have much more problems than thinking about copy and pasting stuff. Because then it's easy to install a keylogger or whatnot. So please, especially on password fields, allow me to use copy and paste so that I can use a password manager to fill in secure passwords. Also, the National Cybersecurity Center has a nice blog post on that one. So if you don't believe me, perhaps you believe them. What happens when I lose a password? Okay, I can retrieve a password link. That's one thing. The other possibility is I'm asked security questions. Well, what can I say? Try to avoid them. Why? Well, for one thing, the question is, do you really need them? When I invest 2 months of time into some silly questions, and you only have one request of password resets every 2 months, it might be actually cheaper to let support handle that and reset that manually than let me build a very expensive application for that. And if you need to do that, please don't use predefined questions. like giving the person a select menu of 5 different questions and that's it. Let them find their own questions or make up your own set of questions. Because these things are going around Twitter and Facebook like hell. Who of you have seen that? Has seen something like that? Or something like that? What was your first pet and what was its name? Yes, of course I want to tell people how my first pet was named because it's a pet. Hey, it's a cat or a dog. Cool. What are those security questions again usually? Exactly. What? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So security questions are a backup password that is easier to remember the password. So to solve that problem, make the first password easier to remember by allowing people to use passphrases. You see the problem? And Krebs on Security wrote a nice blog post on that as well. Yes, I had to include it. Sorry. I have the same problem. When I fill out a CAPTCHA and tell Google, these are the red lights, that identifies me as a human. Okay, so a Tesla in auto navigation can identify red lights? No. So CAPTCHAs are ugly, are hard to read, discriminate users with disabilities. Well, you might now say, okay, but there are alternatives, or especially in the reCAPTCHA, you can request an audio file. You know, there is a project that actually uses that to automatically validate those CAPTCHAs. So they are taking, in an automated way, the audio file from Google, pass that to the Google Voice Recognition API, get the result back, pass that to Google reCAPTCHA, solved. So there are alternatives. Have you ever heard of a honeypot? Yes, a honeypot is a trap. It's a trap for a bot where you have one field that has to be left empty. But if you name that field like whatever, street or birthday, because you don't require a birthday from the user, the bot thinks, oh yes, I need to fill that, and sends the form. And you get the form back, and you know, this field needs to be empty, but there is something in there. Thank you, bot. You just ignore that. The interesting thing in a reCAPTCHA is, in a honeypot is, the user does not have to do anything. Because for the user, you just disable that field in CSS. The alternative are math CAPTCHAs, easy to solve math questions. Or, depending on what you're doing, use two-factor authentication. The UnCAPTCHA is the thing I told you, like beating Google with its own services. Yeah. So are there any questions? I'm here for the rest of the conference, so you can, if we don't get to talk about your question, we can do that later. And I think we will get them in a second. So thank you very much. Okay.
You do them.
We have a lot of questions. Can we still get my slides back for a second?
Yeah, yes,
So
you can.
I would really like to get some feedback on joined in. So just for those that want to do it now, you can scan the QR code and then we can switch to the questions in about, not now, some people are still photographing, in about now. Yes. It's often a business requirement when registering a domain or in the airline business. Yeah, well, in that case, you didn't do the form yourself. So you should actually ask the company that does that whether it is necessary or not. But yes, sometimes it is necessary to know the differences, especially for airlines, because they need to know how the name is split up in your passport. But then it's pretty easy because you just request the information that is in the passport. Does that answer the question? Hopefully? Okay. So, regarding send a copy to the user, how to mitigate the spammers which might use the service as a mail relay? Well, using a CAPTCHA or some other way of filtering out bots like honeypot or math CAPTCHAs or stuff like that. That might be the easiest solution for that, I'd say. And in the end, during the registration process, you enter an email address, so they have to enter an email address on themselves, which then actually makes it pretty easy for them to directly send you an email. So that, in my eyes, is not really, or does not necessarily need to be a problem. And on the other hand, they will always send you the spam as well. So the problem already exists, because when someone fills your form and sends it to your support team, well, you get the spam already. Why is it necessary to mark required fields? Doesn't it make it harder for users? Well, okay, if you mark the optional fields, you also mark the required fields. It doesn't matter whether you mark required fields or whether you visually mark optional fields. The main thing is, I, as a user, should have the possibility to know these fields need to be filled in, and these fields are optional. Whether you make the star onto the required fields or tell me these are optional is okay. In the case I've shown you, there was no markings whatsoever on these are required and these are optional. How to show a full-length name on an app. I'm not getting that question. How to show a full-length name on app front when you pick option with one name field. Can someone enlighten me?
Well, I think I'm thinking about how do you deal with, I mean, for example, my name is Howard Petra, and then you want to deal with somebody's nickname, like used commonly.
Well, then
Not put the whole thing there.
ask the user for a nickname.
Yeah, right.
Easy as that. Because if my first name is, I don't know, 255 characters and my last name is 255 characters, you don't want to address me with that because it doesn't fit. So ask me for a nickname, especially on a platform that is more on a personal level basis. Why is it necessary to mark require? Oh, we had that? Okay. There's a problem that it works globally and thus leads to pretty low usability. Yeah, well, but that is the problem. If you have a password that is in a password file, this password has been pawned, no matter whether you used it or someone else, because it's in the password file. So, yes, this is a global problem. And if you want a secure password, use a password manager, because they usually generate very unique passwords, random strings, 32 characters, 64 characters, shouldn't be a problem. Well, if there is no password length limitation, and then it's pretty easy to use. What would you write in the navbar if you didn't know how to split a name up? Well, as I said, I would ask the user for how do you want to be addressed. Regarding CAPTCHAs, what do you do if your service is so large that spammers write an own script to spam your service? Well, in that case, which, for example, is the case for WordPress plugins, people are actually writing scripts, especially for WordPress plugins. In that case, you either have to think of a known solution, or probably use CAPTCHAs, but think about what kind of CAPTCHAs you use. And I'm not saying CAPTCHAs are per se a bad thing, because they have a use case. But usually they're pretty ugly, and especially reCAPTCHA does not necessarily fit into your visual CI of the site. as we've seen in the example from the, what was it, GitLab registration page, I think it was, which completely destroyed the layout of the site. So yes, it might be that in the case that your site is so large that people are writing their own script for that, that you have to use a different approach for that. I'm not talking about that question. The weirdest captcha I've ever seen. I have no idea, actually. There are some captchas that are pretty interesting. I mean, by now, most of the people are using reCAPTCHA from Google, which was pretty awesome when it was reCAPTCHA, where they were helping people digitizing books. By now, it's a nice thing. It's an easy-to-use solution, but I'm not sure whether Google should know everything and on every site. I think the easiest captcha that I've so far seen and used was actually math captcha. That was really like, hey, that's so easy. Just a simple math question. What is 1 plus 4? That's pretty easy. You probably should not use the same math equation for all the fields, because spammers at one point will realize when I enter 5 there, that's good. But that's a very easy solution, but not the weirdest one I've seen. So if there are no more questions, thank you very much.